Hey Michelle, so your guys' B&B was just a few blocks up that way, and that little food market we went to was right up there. I'm going to take you into another park. It's called Lindsay Park, and that was literally a 5-minute walk from your B&B. So maybe next time you come we can visit this just park. The road on the way in, and this is St. Mary's Cathedral. It's sort of like a older church of the city, Catholic church. And this is the Alberta Ballet Company is here. This is an old train station, and that's being converted. I think the ballet company is in there too. And the park we're going to go to is just in behind all this. And the railway used to run through here, right across this bridge. And that big dome structure is like Olympic-sized swimming pools and all that, diving tanks. So yeah, there's the old railway station. And this must have been the station master's house probably 100 years ago. That's St. Mary's High School over there. We got a bunch of sun. This is the Elbow River. Doesn't look like much now in the fall. The water is usually quite low, but this is the one that flooded out. All where I'm standing was a lake in 2013. This is the one where the banks rose all the way up for several blocks north from here. The water covered this whole area. And this whole park, I shot a video, it's on YouTube back in 2013, a 3-part video. Essentially all of Lindsay Park was one lake. And the upper path where I'm gonna walk was the only dry area. So yeah, the city was devastated from that. It was also the Bow River and the Elbow. So these supports, the water covered that. The water was sweeping over this bridge that I'm walking on. So in these pathways you see here, they interconnect with the City of Calgary bike path system, and they take you all around the city along the river, the riverway, the river park system. And there is just a look back the other way, and they've left the railway, the rails in the bridge. And that's downtown, and your B&B would have been just over there. And this is a beautiful park. But everything where I'm standing, it was partially dry during the flood, but everything down there was covered in water, just like a lake. And there's the Lindsay Park Aquatic Center. I'm not sure what they call it now. I think an oil company has its name preceding. Typical. And I don't see any bunnies here, but years ago there was a family that had domesticated rabbits, and they let them loose. So now there's thousands of them through this park, and in the spring you'll see the babies running around. We used to bring Floyd here on a leash for his walks when he was a little bit younger. But now it's a perfect little park. Picnic tables and throughout here. And this was like literally 5 minutes from your B&B. There's many inner city parks like this. Most of the trees here are all poplar, and they're already shedding their leaves. In Winnipeg, you probably have more oak trees and elm trees. Here we have poplar trees. And this is truly an amazing facility. I think there's 2 Olympic-sized pools, other training pools here. There's like a 1-kilometer jogging track, suspended basketball courts, everything. Restaurants. It's a really cool facility. That part was built back in the early 80s, and the roof was German designed. It's cloth. It's some kind of material. And just over there is 4th Street, and there's lots of restaurants, and we used to take pizza out and come here and sit in the park. And yeah. And just beyond that little fence in front of me, it's all natural, like a habitat. They haven't touched it. So there's a path that meanders through there along the river and stuff. And there's some really nice homes and things on the other side here. So yeah, this path kind of goes down there. And the river is just over there, and that's the Elbow River again. And then you have a bunch of condominiums over here. So yeah, this river is really low, and this is kind of the bend where there's a big pool here. But every autumn the water is quite low here. Usually this is all covered with water come June, July, August. And these condos along here are nice. They go for many blocks that direction, and during the flood their streets looked like Venice. It was just covered in water everywhere. And here's another shot of the river. I like this old tree, they left this here. It's very slow moving here. I always like this property. And they've always got those pedal boats there. And that's where I was filming from just a few minutes ago, just right there. Here's a little lookout point. Again, that water is barely moving. Further up it's going quick, but in this section, like I say, this time of the year, it's slow moving. You can see the bottom. And here's some more of these condos along here. I'm just going to walk up to the bridge and then head back. And so that's the direction I just came from. That's downtown over there. Now this direction here, going this way, is Roxborough Park. And it's a really nice area through there, and the river kind of meanders through that park. And again, lots of bike paths. So here's the other side that I showed you of these condos. The first row backs onto the river here, and then there's one block of them here, another one there, another one there. Where that big Canadian flag is, that's the Stampede grounds. And downtown is just over here. It looks really nice with all the leaves changing color. So now I'm going to venture over that way towards the other side of Lindsay Park. So in this park, there's several picnic tables, and that's looking towards downtown. And the river is to my left, and it kind of bends up here underneath this little footbridge we're going to go under, or over. Now they used to have little fire pit sort of things, but I think they did away with some of them. There might still be a few here, but it is a great place to go for a picnic, and it is a very large park. And the river kind of surrounds it. And that little nature path kind of goes down this way and around the river. Floyd used to actually, when we brought him here on his leash, he would jump up to avoid any dogs and stuff, and he would walk across the top. In fact, I have a few videos and some still photos. But it's an awesome place because there's a lot of office buildings just over here and businesses. People tend to come here for their lunch. Why not? It's so close, and it's close to downtown. So that footbridge is straight ahead here. Whoops. So this is another park I would have liked to have shown you if we had another couple of hours. We could have got lunch and brought it here, but the water is so low, it's crazy. It's crazy to imagine how high this river gets, that it could devastate communities and flood everything out. And again, there's the Calgary Tower. You can make out part of it in downtown. And your B&B was just over here. I think I pointed this out to you when we came out your front door at your B&B, that the Elbow River was just a few blocks this way. Now straight ahead of me is 2nd Street, and then one block past that is 4th Street. And that's where a lot of restaurants and bars, cafes, whatnot. Lots of residential apartments and places around here too. So it's pretty cool. with some students going for their lunch break. And here's just looking back at the park from the bridge. And again, during the flood, this bridge was covered. I never thought I'd see a French and English stop sign in Calgary, but this area that we're walking in was settled by French about 150 years ago. So the city got together and changed all the signs to bilingual stop signs, like in St. Boniface. And bike lanes going on either side of the road here too. So I'm going to cross over. And downtown, bike lane. And the reason I came out here is because Dollarama, I think I have 4 Dollaramas within a 10-minute walk of either direction of my place, is just up here. So you've got a lot of nice older apartments that are really well looked after around here too, and some newer ones. And park is there. 4th Street is ahead. Now in this building here on my right, it's a big commercial property, but the main floor is just full of restaurants. There's a really good pizza place here called Blaze, my favorite Italian thin crust in the city, and I believe they're owned by Five Guys. So you might even have a Blaze pizza in Winnipeg. And straight ahead of me was the old Tivoli Theater. They used to show old, Marx Brothers movies back in the 80s. When I was younger, I used to come here and watch. Now it's a restaurant, or a bunch of restaurants in there. So this is 4th Street. And there's the property that I was talking about. It's got several restaurants, including Blaze. And we're going to walk up to where some of the restaurants are. What they did with these 2 old houses, it's been several restaurants over the years. Now it's a Mexican, I think it's a sushi place here, Añejo Mexican restaurant. This old building is, I think it was original Joe's, but it's something else now. So now we're starting to get into the restaurant area, and behind me is 17th Avenue, and there's more restaurants and bars like this, just like 4th Street. So there's another good Italian restaurant, pizzeria, Neapolitan Pizzeria Famoso. And this is Mercato Italian Market here. And more patios and stuff to eat at going this way, and downtown is straight back that way.
Oh, that'll be good. So when you get back, and when I get back, that's good to know.
Safeway is just up here, Dollarama too, and Shoppers Drug Mart, and Starbucks. So there's downtown. Here's Shoppers Drug Mart. There's some really cool restaurants there. There's Earl's, that's a really good little restaurant. And there's an Irish pub there. So you got lots of stuff even on 4th. And I've been editing this a lot, so from here all the way to downtown is just nothing but restaurants and bars, and then 17th Ave runs this way and there's more of that. And the Elbow River kind of meandered from the park on my left, and it goes all the way up here in front of me with more bike trails and stuff. So here's one of the Dollaramas. I'm going to go in there. Safeway liquor store is there, and then Safeway grocery store is there. And the river is right in front of the intersection of 4th Street and Elbow Drive. Elbow Drive is named after the Elbow River. I'll just walk onto this bridge. The view might look a lot like the last bridge, but no, it's a little different. But there's some beautiful homes, just mansions along here. You can just see how well that yard is manicured. And that's Roxborough. And there's another beautiful park in there. And then a few years ago, they really widened this sidewalk, so it's a shared bike lane, pedestrian sidewalk. So more apartments, and Safeway is just back there. More residential stuff. And this whole neighborhood that I live in is just chock full of apartments. I bet you there's a few thousand people in every block. It's very densely populated, this part of the city. But directly across, this is where the apartments end, and that's where Roxborough begins. And there was, when the flood hit, a lot of those homes were flooded. Some were spared, some were torn down. I spoke to one fellow. His house burned down a month before the flood, and he was glad. He said, thankfully, it wasn't devastated by the flood, because living on the shore, he didn't have flood insurance, but he did have fire insurance. Crazy. The upside of having your house burned down. And there's downtown that way. And this is like a nice little lookout area. And you can see Roxborough over there. Anyway, I think I'm going to turn around and head back the other way. There's just more apartments and stuff straight ahead of me. There's a huge high-rise on the right. Maybe I'll get a peek of that. And they were just doing the foundation before the flood. So I always asked myself, how stable is that building? But apparently they sold many to Chinese investors before it even broke ground. There you can kind of make out the top of it. Beautiful residential, and there's a few other apartments in there as well. And we get back to Lindsay Park that way, if I was to continue that way. Yeah. But it is a nice building, this one. I don't feel like walking all the way up there. So this is a really nice property. It's a retirement residence, like a block from the river and the parks, right next to Safeway, which is behind me. Shoppers Drug Mart, doctors' offices, everything. Maybe your mom would like to move here. So yeah, I just left Safeway and I'm walking back. This little street is kind of like a jewel, a hidden jewel in the neighborhood that I'm going to go into here. It's really a lot of trees. This neighborhood, even though it's 5 minutes from my home, is called Cliff Bungalow. And I always thought it was because there's a cliff, but I think there was a guy actually named Cliff Bungalow. Don't know. Wow, the leaves are just falling off like crazy in the last week. It's 21 degrees or 22 degrees outside right now. Not a cloud in the sky. It's supposed to continue like this for the entire long weekend for Thanksgiving. So yeah, straight ahead, that whole cliff, all those trees are, the leaves have fallen off already. That's nice for when everything is green. But there's a really cool apartment and the big cliff behind me. But a lot of these homes up here, this is one of the older parts of the city here. But of course, a lot of the older houses have been torn down. And these apartments probably came up in the 80s sometime, I think late 70s, early 80s. Some of them are as far back as the 1960s. And that staircase there will lead you up to, I believe that's part of Mount Royal, which is a very well-to-do kind of area up there. Lots of big mansions and multi-million-dollar homes up there. But here's an example of a newer home, an infill put in here. I can remember which house used to be here. And downtown is straight ahead of me. There's somebody doing a workout on the steps there. Yeah, I like this little infill. Looks like it's more than one dwelling in there, maybe. I don't know. And downtown, you can see the skyscrapers straight ahead. And I'm just a couple of blocks straight ahead and then one over to the left. But you can see these beautiful old homes through here. I'm glad they preserved most of them. And there's one or two elementary schools. These are really old. They must be 120-year-old schools up here. And they're still used as schools. Yeah, there's Cliff Bungalow Elementary School. And then up the end of the block, there's another elementary school. And more of these beautiful older homes along here. And even where I live is predominantly newer apartments, like built within the last 40 or 50 years. But at one point in time, It was all older homes like this everywhere through here. That guy's got the right idea, getting some sun while he can. And there's the other elementary school just there to the left. So many years ago there was a charity, and I forget that big cow on the balcony. It's been there since then. It was back in the 90s. You could pay for a cow and have it on your property or whatever, and it went to a children's society, I believe. But yeah, I just love this little stretch of road through here. And to the left is the high school Romina went to, Western Canada High School. I believe it's the oldest high school in the city. I love the building on the corner here. Now you can tell they've added another floor to the top, but it's an older apartment. And yeah, the leaves have all fallen off these trees. Usually it's like a big canopy walking through here of green. And I used to like Grandma and Grandpa Street on Clifton in Winnipeg because I think when I was a kid they had a lot of either elm or oak, and they kind of went right across the street. Much like here, but there's another newer infill. They try to kind of make it look older just with its design, but it replaced a whole row of nice old homes that used to be here. On my left is part of Western Canada High School. I believe this would be the shops, like mechanical shops and stuff through this side. Straight ahead of me is 17th Avenue running east to west, so left to right. That's where all the restaurants, and if you've ever watched a Flames hockey game after we win, they call this the Red Mile, and that's where people crowd onto the streets. And unfortunately it doesn't happen often, but even when we lose there's still a bunch of drunk rowdies and people out partying, having fun. And again, downtown is right there, straight ahead. That little place there, Tuk Tuk Thai, it's mostly takeout, but they have amazing Thai food. Really, really authentic. And this place here used to be an Italian restaurant, but now it's like smoked meat. They smoke everything there. They have their in-house smoker, and it's pretty good too, like pulled pork and stuff like that. It's really hard to get a look at the school because of all the sun, but I believe this is used in a lot of movies. It looks like something right out of, you know, what's the one with Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future, one of those old schools from the 50s, hey? So when this sort of patio thing came about during COVID for restaurants to kind of stay open and they could serve people, and it's being integrated into the city plan, and it's like pretty much all the way down 17th Ave, a lot of these little patios. And there's a nice little park coming up here too. Live Burger, they have some good burgers. This place, damn good sandwiches. Alumni. And there's another Shoppers Drug Mart straight ahead, not even 5 minutes from the other one. And as I mentioned before, there's 4 Shoppers Drug Marts within 5 or 10 minute walk of where I live. Crazy. There's a poutineery, Analog Coffee, kind of a trendy, swanky place to get coffee. And there's the little park I'm going to cut through, and my place is just straight ahead over there. So we'll just walk through this little park. It's a narrow park, but it's quite long. And there's a stage at the other end where on the weekends bands perform. And there's more stores along this little, and restaurants there. And believe it or not, in this neighborhood there's actually a Canadian Tire. And it's on the upper floor of this big commercial / residential tower. They got everything the large Canadian Tires would have, just smaller volume of course, but it's really cool and convenient for this neighborhood. I don't know what they're doing here, major construction. There you go, Canadian Tire. And then there's an urban fair and a huge market, grocery store on the main floor. And we've got Best Buy right across the street. And further up 17th Ave, More of the same, restaurants and bars and nightclubs and everything going that way. And now we're gonna walk north towards downtown, and then I'm gonna veer off to my place, which is just to the left. So a lot of these commercial properties with grocery stores and, you know, sometimes the shoppers on the main floor are also high-rise condos. So it's convenient for the people that live in these buildings to just zip downstairs for their groceries in the winter. It's like, not that we really have winter here, but so now we're getting into my neck of the woods. I've only walked a block from that Canadian Tire. And the fake grass. This side too, fake grass. Looks quite real, but it's just plastic. More big condos. And there's whoever lives up there, there's a hot tub. That's pretty cool. That fake grass. And my place is just a block ahead. Yeah, not much else to show you. Just the neighborhood that I live and the different amenities and parks that are close by. Things you never had a chance to see. If we had another 2 hours, I could have shown you these things. But hopefully next time when you come out, we can go for another walk. And I want to see this mural. I haven't seen the completed mural on this building. It was weird looking. Very trippy. And this old house here they've converted. I think that's the Colombian consulate in that house. So here is this painting, and I watched these guys on boom lifts. It's very intricate. And everything was done with spray. Some kind of hybrid creature, plant. Part human, something. So I'll pan up. Somebody has a very vivid imagination. And they've done a bunch of buildings around here like that. Some people don't care for it, but I think it's all right. Better than a brick wall on a 60-year-old building. And there's another new building. Right up here where my camera is pointed, one of the best places to go for a breakfast sandwich served until 11 a.m., $5. It's an Italian deli with real mozzarella cheese, capicola ham, homemade ciabatta buns they make there. $5 for a coffee and the sandwich every day till 11. So there's downtown straight ahead. And my place is just to the right in the middle of the next block. So now we're coming up on my building, and there's that nice park across the street from my place. I've actually showed you part of that in a video before. And there's the Western Canada High School there. And there, back home. This is just a view from my elevator lobby on my floor. The shining hallway.